algebra, we are going to go over our exponent rules. So, chapter 8, as we know, was exponents. So what are my exponents rules? When I multiply two numbers that have the same base with the exponent, remember, I am going to add my exponents. Okay? What am I going to do here? I am hoping you said multiply, because you are correct. What am I going to do here? This third one, I'm hoping you said distribute that in. So you got A to the M, B to the M. Oh, what about these? I need to subtract. So I'm going to get A, M minus P. Sorry, it doesn't fit on there, but you get the idea. And my next rule, I need to do what I did here, but I need to do it on both levels. So I got A, and actually here too. So these two rules combine to make up this rule. M to the N, right? And then here I'm going to have A, P to the N. Different exponent. Take care of that. Now, if I would end up, because I have the same base, for my final answer, I'm going to have to do this probably. Okay? So as I evaluate, I need to evaluate further. Remember, anything to the 0 power is equal to 1. And anything that is on the top of a fraction, if it's negative, it needs to switch directions in that fraction, so it'll go to the bottom, and I need to have that 1 to hold my place. So quick review of our rules. So what does that mean for our problems? Well, what do I have to do here? I need to multiply. So I need to look at my second rule. I'm multiplying. I'm going to multiply my numbers just as is. But my M times my M, what am I going to do with my 3 and my 4? I'm going to add them together. I'm sorry, I said second rule. I meant first rule. Okay, negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. M to the 4 plus 3 gives me 7. Okay, I would like you to do the rest of these. I'm going to write the answers up here so that you can check them. And then I would like you to come back and check your answers. So, as I'm talking right now, I'd like you to pause the video. If you pause the video, you're going to get much, much more out of this, and you're going to do better. So, make sure you pause it, then come back and check your answers. God bless. Nope, no, that's not the end of the video. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. Don't shut it off. Okay, for number 2, you should have got 64x to the 6th. How did I get 64? Because my 4 has to be cubed also. And then my x would be 2 times 3. 4 cubed is 64. Okay? For number 3, you should have distributed that in and got x to the 6th, y to the 15th. For number 4, you've got to do that same rule that we just talked about. 8 squared, m to the 4 times 2. Now, I don't have to do that to the bottom. Oh, you know what? I'm not done there. What can I take out of there? I can take some numbers out. So what's that answer going to be equal to? What can I take out of both the 64 and the 24? I can take an 8 out. So I've got 8 and 3. And then 8 minus 4, because they're on top of each other, so they could be subtracted, would be m to the 4th. Okay, so that, my friends, is my final answer. What do I get here? Well, I've got to subtract 12 minus 15. And 12 minus 15 is negative 3. So I've got to put it in the bottom. What did I do here? Well, I simplified my number to get my 5 halves. Subtract your b's. What do you get? 8 minus 4 is 4. C would be 3 minus 9. That's why it ends up on the bottom. because it would be c to the 6, negative 6. Okay? At number 7, I can take a 12 out of there. And I need to make sure that I match up my F's and I match up my G's. And you can't see those very well, but you can see them on your paper. Now let's talk about this. Which of these rules were like the rules that we applied? Well, we didn't do anything with adding, so it's not this. We didn't do anything with subtraction, so it's not this. So it must be this, and it must be this. All right? Okay. Now, what about matrices? Okay, this first matrix, I just need to distribute that in. So what's your answer going to be? It's going to be the same size as my original problem. Here, when I'm subtracting, I'm still going to get the same size matrix. But how am I going to get this piece? Well, 7 minus 6. What's 7 minus 6? It's 1. How am I going to get this piece here? 8 times negative 5 is negative 40. Okay? I'm going to have you fill in the rest. I'm not going to do it for you. Okay? This is going to be the exact same size as well. Here I'm going to do 7 plus 6, which would be 13. Here I did 7 minus 6. Here I'm doing 7 plus 6. You have to look at what's in between these. If there's nothing in between these, what are you doing? You're multiplying. Okay, so make sure that you do that. Check your answer in class. Okay? When I'm doing this, we wrote ours a little bit differently, so I'm going to rewrite it so that you know what it looks like. Mrs. Kilgus writes it this way, and we wrote it a little differently. We wrote it like this. Okay? If you look at the way she wrote it, so B-dubs, you had 5 meals and 3 desserts. And how much did a meal cost? A meal cost $12. A dessert cost $3. So then you add that together to get your answer, right? So 5 times 12, 3 times 6, and you're going to get that. Same thing that we learned, right? We learned that you're going to look at this row up here, 5 and 3, and you're going to multiply it by this first column, and you're going to add those together and get your answer. And that first answer in your matrix is going to be 78. Because 5 times 12 is 60, 6 times 3 is 18, and you go from there. Okay, I'd like you to fill in the rest of that matrix. And after you are done, check your answer. Let's talk a little bit about scientific notation. Remember, our rule for scientific notation is we have a number, and then a decimal, and then all of the other important numbers behind it, times 10. If it's a big number, my exponent's positive. If it's a little number, my exponent is negative. So I'm going to have a decimal here, times 10. What am I going to get? What's my decimal going to look like in this first one? Well, it's going to be 2.7. Why? Because my decimal has to go between the first number and the second number. Times 10 to the what? Well, my decimal is here in the original problem. How many times did I have to jump to get to it in between the 2 and the 7? 6. What's my decimal going to be here? Figure that out. Write that part down, and then figure out your exponent. Remember, it's going to be negative, because little numbers in our bank account are bad news bears. All right, when I divide, I use my rules that I learned early in the chapter. Divide your two numbers. 8 divided by 4 is 2 times 10. Those are exponents, same base. What am I going to do with the 5 and the 3? I'm going to subtract. My answer is 2. Right? I'd like you to do this one. And think about your answer and make sure it's in scientific notation. Great. That is it. God bless.